Managers can evaluate the performance of their employees in a number of ways. They can compare and rank order them, rate them against present standards, or evaluate the results or outcomes of their performance. These methods vary in several important ways. First, some methods focus on measuring performance outcomes like quantity, speed, and sales, whereas others focus on employee traits or behaviors. Traits refer to employees' attributes, such as their knowledge, courtesy, or some additional measure. In contrast, methods that focus on behaviors strive to capture the extent to which employees display the desired behaviors related to doing their jobs. The various methods also differ in terms of their usefulness for meeting the administrative or developmental purposes of a firm's performance management system. Perhaps the simplest form of performance evaluation is to compare employees to one another to discern their relative standing among some performance dimension. In a simple ranking approach, managers rank order employees from best to worst along some performance dimension by virtue of their overall performance. For example, a manager might rank order employees based on their sales volumes for a specific month. The person with the highest sales would be ranked number 1. The person with the second highest sales ranked number 2, and so on. When managers have quantitative performance data, rankings are quite easy to do. A variation of the ranking approach is the paired comparisons method, whereby each employee in a business unit is compared to every other employee in that unit. The rater then assigns a point value to the better individual in the pair being compared. After all individuals are compared to one another and the points are added up, they are then ranked from the most to the least. Another form of individual comparison is the forced distribution approach, whereby managers are forced to distribute employees into one of several predetermined categories. This figure shows an example of forced distribution. In this example, a manager would be required to rate 10% of his employees as very good, 20% as good, 40% as average, 20% as poor, and the remaining 10% as very poor. Thus, if the manager had 100 employees, she could only give 10 of them very good ratings. Forced distribution systems prevent managers from rating all employees as outstanding, average, or poor. They must use the entire range of performance scores. This forces managers to be more critical in terms of which employees truly are exceptional, average, and poor. Of course, these three individual comparisons have some advantages and disadvantages. On one hand, using individual comparisons is relatively easy as an approach to design and implement. Managers simply need to determine the basis for the comparisons or rely on an overall global assessment, and then they need to compare individuals to one another. In addition, the comparisons can be used for administrative purposes, such as determining who to promote or how to disseminate merit increases. On the other hand, there are some drawbacks to using comparison approaches. For example, what would you do if two employees display equal performance levels, but you need to rank order them? Similarly, what about the 20% of your employees who deserve to be rated as very good or outstanding, but you're forced to limit this rating to 10% of your employees? In such a case, you'll have to make distinctions among your employees that don't truly reflect their performance. Finally, although the comparative approaches are often helpful for administrative purposes, they're not as useful for developmental purposes. Rankings and distributions boil down to a single, overarching rating for employees that often does not capture the specifics of why they're performing at a certain level.